Good morning, everybody. So, as I said in the last lecture, we are going to deal with the chain rule. And usually, the chain rule in about 15 minutes one can do. And usually, again, in many other courses, that's the end. Once you prove it, I think that that's it. Okay. Derivative of g composite f is derivative of g at f of a and the derivative of f at a. Okay, that's it. Finished. That's not the end of the story. People believe it's like, you got salvation. Moksha mil gaya humko. Okay, that's not. In fact, that's where you are born. So you have to take lot. You have to go through. You have to do all the lifestyle, pass through the life. As I said in the last lecture, chain rule and Munich theorem are the two of the most important tools, techniques, results of any kind of differential calculus. Okay, so let us start sharing the screen. Let us start the proof. Let me just save it so that in case something goes wrong. Okay, there is a E missing. Okay, so what did the chain rule say? Chain rule said something like this: U is an open set in Rk, V is an open set in Rm, and I have a function from U to V. This is in Rk, this is in Rm, and it goes to Rn. So I have a function G, I have a function F, I have a point A here, I have a point B here, which is f of A. So what are the assumptions? F is differentiable at the map from U to Rm at the point A, and G as a map from B to Rn is differential at the point B, which is f of A. So we want to know whether G composite F is differentiable at A. Okay, so obvious guess is, F is approximated by the linear map, call it A, derivative of f at A, and G is approximated by the linear map B, that is dg at B, derivative of G at B. Then I would expect the composite, namely B composite A, must be an approximation to the function G composite of at A. That's a intuition. So that's what we want to prove. Differential at A, and we have derivative of G composite of at A is derivative of G at the point FA composite derivative of F at A. So if I call derivative of G at B as B and derivative of F at A as A, then what I read is B composite A. That's a linear map. So you should slowly get used to the notation. Okay, this is the derivative operation on the function G composite F at the point A. Therefore, you see why I want you to look at the notation, so that now does this make sense to you? You see, the notation becomes complicated, but if your concepts are clear, it is very good. This is a linear map. It has to act on a vector. This vector H will be where? In Rk, because our A lives in Rk. Do you understand? This is what I meant by notation. Okay, so this is the derivative of the map G composite F at the point A acting on the vector. Okay, sometimes there are teachers who look like this at H. Okay, I don't use it. Okay, in fact, my co-author wanted to use it. I didn't like it. Okay, this is easier because each is an operation. Derivative is an operation. So what is where it operates on a function, and then derivative must be taken at a point. At which point? A. Now this is a linear map where it has to act. It has to act on a vector. Where does the vector H live? In the domain of wherever A lives. See there. So just keep on looking at this so that you become comfortable. You are not kind of intimidated by the symbols. Okay, very good. So are you ready for the proof? Okay, the proof is, as I said, basic idea. What is the thing? We said that since f is differentiable at a, I know I can write f of x as f of a plus derivative of x minus a plus norm of x minus a, whichever norm you want, I don't care, into r of x. What do I know about r of x? R of x, limit x goes to a is 0, and we also define r of a to be 0. Okay, because Rx can be defined by this equation for x not equal to a. That's what we have seen. So I have to define what is R at a, because I want R to be a function from u to wherever Rm. Okay, right. And similarly, I can do with respect to y. So I will look at the variables of the intermediate space Rm as y. Okay, the coordinates. Therefore, this is going to be g of b minus b into y minus b. And then what happens here? It's y minus b plus times, let us say, s of y, where s is again the same thing, limit y tends to b of s of y is 0, and we define s of b to be 0. This is how s is defined. Are all of you comfortable with that? I'm just recalling the notation so that you should feel confident. Yeah, right. Now tell me, very good. Yeah, as I said yesterday, I mean, I want at least 20 people should raise hand. Minimum. Good. Okay, good. Lot more than expected. Very good. Now, what do you think I should do now? See, what is y? So, let us look at the picture. This is my rk. This may be my u. This may be my rn. This may be my v. This is your rn. This is my f. And this is my g. I have my a here. And I have my b here. Right? Yeah, okay. Now, notice that f is continuous. Right? F is differentiable at a, therefore it's continuous at a. Do you understand that? And what is f of a? F of a is b. Therefore, what do I know? Okay, you get, and since b belongs to v is open, there exists an open ball which is completely contained in that. You understand? Therefore, there is another open ball. If you think of it as something like R, capital R, then there is a small r, so that for every point here, fx maps into this. You should understand what I am going to do, because this is, you cannot just like that write. So I want to say, I want to confine my y only to here in this open ball around y. You understand this? I have fixed this is in Rm, BB, something, some positive, okay, call it something R, whatever it is. This is contained in B. You understand? So start with the y only here, right? Okay. But remember again, when I said all these things, this is all right. Okay. Okay. Now since f is continuous, I know there is a small ball, so that for every x here, fx will get mapped into this. You understand that? Therefore, I can take, okay, in fact, I could even take f inverse of this BBR. Okay. This is open. F is continuous at a, therefore this will be open. You understand that? Therefore, if you give me any y, I know there is an x here, so that fx belong to this. Do all of you understand that? Yeah. Therefore, I can write this y as fx. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to justify any y here, I can write as fx. Right? Where x is here. Okay, this is f inverse of something. Okay. This is equal to g of f of a plus b. And what do you think I will write y? Because y is fx, b is fa, therefore I can write as fx minus fa plus f of x minus f of a into s of f of x. Right? The two reads like this for every y here. Do all of you agree with this? Yeah. Good. Enough. All right. Okay. Now what do you think I have to do? Can somebody tell me? Yes, enough. Yeah. Okay. Now I got this. What do you think I should do? What is that I want to prove? Remember, I want to prove G composed F at X minus G composed F at A should be B composed F acting on X minus A plus something T of X. That T is such that T of X goes to 0 as X goes to A. Sorry, I have to write norm of X minus A. Okay, this is a form I want to do. If I have shown this, that would mean that B composed A is the derivative. If G composed F is differentiable at A and the derivative is B composed A. Do all of you agree with that? Yeah, so let us do that. So I am going to concentrate on this now. Right? There is no A here. You understand? There is only B here. So what do you think I should do? Can somebody suggest? Raise your hand. Yeah, no, I don't want to hear the answer. I just want to see how many can think of it. You see that? This is the form I want. At present, I don't seem to have it. So what should I do? See, this is how you think of problem solving. Okay? Not line by line checking. Yes. Let me ask somebody whom I have not asked. I think I seem to ask a lot of people. Yeah. Ramya? Ramya, I have not asked for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what do you think I should do?
We can get this from first equation, so that we know that f of x equal to f of a plus a of
Right.
x.
So here fx minus a we substitute. Right? That's what
Yes.
I hope you wanted to say, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because fx minus a is going to be a of x minus a plus something something. You understand that? So you are right. So we will do that. So I have g of f of x equal to g of f of a, where if you want minus equal to b of fx minus fa is going to be a of x minus a plus norm of x minus a into r of x. Right? Okay. This function we are done. Now let's look at. Now what is that I want? B comes to a of x minus a, something I seem to have got something similar, but then there is some error term that we will take care. But here what is that I want? I want finally t of x, some kind of a function so that tx goes to 0 as x tends to a and multiplied by norm of x minus a. Okay, this term I want here. So how am I going to get it? Any suggestions? Bharat? Sneha?
We can use the fact that f is continuous.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you can pull out x minus a, norm of x minus a. You
We can
understand?
make it less than or equal to.
Because you remember, that's the whole point of our definition of derivative, right?
Yes.
Unless I can take out, that is I divide by norm x minus a, then the error should go to 0. That means the error should be norm x minus a into something, that something goes to 0. Do you follow that? So just
Yes,
it
sir.
goes to 0 is not good enough.
Yes.
See, this is how you learn to think. Yeah. So what do you think I should do? Somebody else?
Sir, I think we can use the fact that B is a linear map.
No, see here I want norm x minus a should come out. If I want to do anything, norm x minus a should come out. Otherwise, I do not have anything. Please understand. You understand? The error term should be of the form norm x minus a into something. That something should go to 0 as x goes to a. So somehow I have to force it. How about again using the same thing, fx minus fa? It already has something, right? That is a into x minus a plus some r of x. You understand that? Maybe I can try. I do not know whether it's going to work, but it doesn't hurt me to try. You understand that? That is going to be a into x minus a plus norm of x minus a into r of x into s f of x. Do all of you agree with that? We do not know whether it's going to work. Yes? Yeah. Good. Again, I am still not quite at it. I want norm of x minus a should be out, but then you can see it's the norm of a acting on x minus a plus norm of x minus a into rx. So what do you think I should do here? See, these are when you learn also you should do. What you do is you see the book, then you line by line you check. It looks all right, it looks all right, it's okay. Yeah, I can justify. That's not mathematics. Okay, we have a goal, we are working towards the goal. So how do I do that? That's how you should learn to think. That builds your problem solving skills. So what do you think I will do? I want norm x minus a to be out into times something to tx. Yes, Maheshri?
Sir, using triangle inequality and linearity of these.
Very good, very good. Triangle inequality, I hope you mentioned triangle inequality here, right?
Yes, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
No cheating, right?
No, sir.
Okay, no, I'm just joking. See, math is not dull, you know, it's fun. So this I can write norm of x minus a plus norm of this fellow, but now this is a scalar, therefore norm of x minus a comes out into norm of rx. Okay, the whole thing multiplied by s fx. If you want, again there is a norm because we are trying to put norm everywhere. Oh, there is a norm here also. I forgot. Okay, I should have put norm here. Then only I can do all those things. That's all right. Do you understand this? Still, I am not through. I want this. There is a acting on x minus a. But remember, for any linear map a acting on x, we have said there is a constant c, so that it is c times norm x, less than or equal to c times norm x. You understand that? Do all of you remember that? We proved it. Just to test you, Saswata, when did I prove it? In what context?
Sir, when we wanted to show that the linear maps are continuous.
Did I?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you are right.
Lipschitz continuous.
Yeah, you are right. That is when I wanted to show
That,
what is the root cause. Root cause was if it is differentiable at a, it is continuous at a.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At that point of time, in that and in the course of the argument, I needed to do. Very good, excellent, Saswata. Good. I'm happy. Therefore, this fellow is less than or equal to. Now I can take norm of x minus a into c plus norm of rx times norm of s fx. See, the last term is what I'm spending a lot of time to understand. Do all of you understand this? Now, let's look at what do I know as x goes to a? I know fx goes to fa because f is differentiable at a, therefore it's continuous at a. That is equal to b. Therefore, as x tends to a, what happens to s of fx? That goes to 0. Right? You understand that? It goes to s of b, which is 0. Right? And I want to make sure this is a constant. This is bounded. C is okay, it's a bounded, but Rx. But remember, what do I know about Rx? Again, Rx goes to 0 as x goes to a. Therefore, R is bounded in an interval or not interval, in an open disk or open ball around a. Therefore, this is also less than or equal to some constant if you want to put it d. You all follow that? So these things are bounded and this goes to 0 and therefore this times this goes to 0. That therefore my Tx is this. My Tx is whatever I wrote earlier. So can somebody tell me what is my Tx? What all I showed was I did without even saying what is Tx. I said, okay, Tx goes to 0 as x goes to a. This is what I proved. Okay, this is done. But what was Tx? Did I ever say that? Remember, you have to write equality. You understand? So how did I get that equality? Yes, Indumati. What is Tx? Shubham?
No, no.
Notice that the last term, what was the last term? Last term was norm fx minus fa times sfx. You understand that? Norm fx minus fa times s of fx, right? This is the term. What we know was this goes to 0. Forget this. This goes to 0 as x tends to a. And we also said this in norm is less than or equal to some constant times something times x minus a. Okay. You understand this? Something. I don't care what it is. Are you following? Please listen to me. I can always introduce a notation, etc. But I don't want this. Something is what we wrote here. This fellow. Okay. Are you following? Therefore, what I know is this goes to 0. Whatever I wrote, this fellow, okay, call it e of x if you want. What I produce, e of x goes to 0 much faster than x minus a. Right? The moment it is there, therefore I know ex can be written as norm of x minus a times some t of x. You follow that? This is the way we introduce R and S earlier. When we characterize differentiable in terms of this remainder R, okay, this is the argument we need. So what all I have to say is this, whatever is left over, this fellow goes to 0 much faster than x minus a going to 0. Okay, but still this term still remains. Okay, how many of you understood what I'm saying? I'm thinking aloud, so it may be slightly confusing because usually that kind of thing is never done, right? Line by line you write and yeah, okay. By my force of personality, I convince you it's correct, then that's it. Proof is over. Okay. So what do you think you have done? Let us again go back. G composed f at x minus G composed f at a equal to B composite a acting on something x minus. So I would write x minus a, but what I have is, oh, I have not got it right. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So that is equal to, sorry, what I got is B of fx minus fa plus norm of x minus a into some t of x. This part is taken over. This is what I want now, right? Now what do you think I will do? You will see this is still not tx. That's what I want to tell you. Okay. This now fx minus fa, this object is again b of a of x minus a plus what do I have? Norm of x minus a into r of x. Do all of you agree with this? Right. Now how many of you see what is happening? Why I'm not getting it? I'm stuck. Anyway, sometimes so tricky. Okay. Okay. So how many of you see, I want to write this equal to, are you able to see this? I am unable to see that. Are you able to see this? This object?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I
Yes,
want to
sir.
write a T of x. Okay. I said we already found a T of x. Now do you see that? That's not quite true. Why? Because I wrote this fellow is norm of x minus into, call it T1 of x. The T of x still has something from here. Why? Look at that. So this one, again, how will I write? B is linear. Therefore, I can write it B of B composed A of x minus A plus B is linear. Therefore, the scalar comes out norm of x minus A into B of R of x plus norm of x minus A into T1. I will call it the whatever I did earlier as T1 of x. Right? Therefore, this is norm of x minus A into this fellow B of R of x. Now remember, R of x, where does it go? It goes to 0 as x goes to A. And B is linear and we know B is continuous. Therefore, B of R of this also goes to 0. You understand that? Therefore, I can take x minus A, norm of x minus A out. Therefore, I have B of R of x plus T1 of x, whatever I got earlier. This is my T of x. As x goes to A, this goes to 0. Therefore, I proved the result. It's a very easy, people will think it's a very manipulation of symbols, but you can see how much of careful, subtle analysis I have to look at. Okay. It will be a fantastic exercise for you if you want to master how to write mathematics, careful mathematics, rigorous mathematics. This will be a good exercise. Okay. You should try to do on your own, or you have to wait for my book. So how many of you understood? How many of you would like me to repeat? So I shall give you as usual about 30 seconds. Go through. Let us start from the earlier thing. So this is what I have. Okay, even to justify this, I needed to use the continuity of f. Right? Again, where this is going to be true, this is going to be true only for those x for which this is true. So I am going to restrict, I cannot take x to be everywhere, but I have to restrict something here. Is this clear? From this is our goal. Keep the goal in mind. Then I have to tinker around these expressions so that what I want drops. Okay, think of it like that. Whereas textbooks will always keep on doing like this. But you should keep the goal in mind and move towards it. Even in life, that's what you have to do. If you have a goal, then you have to take steps to move towards that. Not arbitrary random walk. So I am looking at this thing. First, I tried to show I can write it as some norm of x minus a into some t1 of x, where t1 of x goes to 0 as x goes to a. Have I achieved it? Look at this. This is what one girl suggested. Take triangle inequality. So I said this term can be written as norm x minus a into some t1 of x, where t1 x goes to 0. Next, I have to attend to this term. This is the term which you are looking at. Yeah. You can see all the places where using some continuity or the other. That's what I meant by saying differentiation reduced to continuity, continuity is reduced to convergence of sequences. At least the way I do. Can I go ahead or should I stop? Okay, very good. 24 are done. That's excellent. Let me ask you a question. I want an honest answer. How many of you will try to write down a proof? Don't worry whether it's correct or wrong or perfect. How many of you will try? Honest. I'm going to ask in the next lecture. Okay? Right. Then you scan it. Okay? You write it down. Take a very legible copy and scan it. Okay? You can share it in the Google Classroom. Good. So can I go ahead now? I'm clearing the hands. Yeah, can I go ahead? Because already 24 said you are going to write it. That's a very excellent for me. Good, nice. Wow, good. Okay, so now let's look at the next one. I don't know why participant is not moving out. It's creating problem for me. Anyway, okay. Now what do I do with this? Once the theorem is proved, many textbooks will leave it. Then naam ke baad there will be some small exercise. Okay. Perhaps we will do that kind of small exercise and then come to that. Okay. Let's look at, suppose F, G, so these are all going to application and the rest of the lecture today will be only applications because as I said, chain rule, apart from proving a theorem, that also people don't look at it carefully. There is an epsilon delta proof also. Okay. They think that, D of G composed F at A equal to G F B composed A kind of thing. They think that's the end of the story. But you should learn how to work with it. So the rest of the cases is good. We are going to do that. Suppose these are differentiable. At some point, let's not worry about A. Okay. Then we know the derivative of F at A can be identified with the gradient of F. That is, its action on H will be gradient at A dot product is H. Okay. This is so similarly dg at A. What is the question I'm after? Can somebody say tell? Yeah, Shubham.
Sir, what is the derivative of d of fa?
What is it?
What derivative of dg of fa?
dg of Fa.
I mean,
Oh, dg of at A. Is this what you mean?
yes.
Okay. So product. What is the derivative of the product? That would have been easier, right? Okay, good, very good. That's correct. Okay. Now you can do ab initio. That is, start from the definition of our derivative. You can still get it. But I want to show you, see, what I want to train you here is, it's my practice. If you give me a function, if you ask me to find the derivative, function meaning vector valued function of a vector variable. Okay. Then what I usually do is I try to write the function as a composite of functions and apply chain rule. The composite functions may be simpler. Maybe I already know their derivative. Therefore, it is easier for me to compute. Okay. Do all of you understand what I am vaguely saying? You are going to see illustrations now. Right. So I want to know, is Fg differentiable at A? Next, what is the derivative? Since the derivative is given by this, I want to know what is Fg or Gf. Is the question clear? Yeah. Right. Okay. But even before proving, I'm sure all of you, your gut feeling is Fg is differential at A. The only thing is you have to say what is gradient of Fg at A. Notice that when n equal to 1, you know the answer. So what do you think? Use that to make a guess. How many of you can guess? Some of you might have already seen also in your BSc calculus. Amrendra?
So f dot product with gradient of z at A.
What is it? Yeah. Yep.
F of A dot
What is dot?
grad
It's a scalar.
yes
There is no dot.
gradient of ZA
Yeah.
plus
Huh.
gradient of GA and gradient of F.
Is that what you want to say? See, remember,
Yes,
you should always write a scalar on the left, right? That's how we do in linear algebra. So you should not write delta FA first, gradient of FA first. Okay, right. So this is a guess. Okay. Now, as I said, I want to deduce this by using chain rule. Can somebody think of it? Remember, I am training you. Okay, wherever you have to compute the derivative of a function, try to see whether you can write it as composite. So only if you train yourself, you will be able to spot such things. Okay. Can somebody kind of look at the participants and ask some of them, because I have a problem here.
Yeah, sure, sir.
So just make sure there are about 15-20 are there, then I ask somebody.
Right, sir.
So how do I write? I want a composite. Now I want to compute the derivative of Fg. Then the idea is I would write as a composite. Ask somebody quick.
No one responded, sir, till now.
Wow. So the first example itself is a good example. Huh? I thought it's such an easy one. Look at that. See, now you will see the power. You are going to appreciate this. So I have Rn. I have now R cross R. Now can somebody tell me what the map should be? At least now you should be able to tell me. Quick. No. Ask quick questions. Neha.
Multiplication.
Oh no, it's
So
taking values in R cross R. Huh?
Rn to R cross R will be x to f of x g of x, or f comma g, f of x g of x, and then
what should be the next function?
the multiplication.
Ah, good. Now you see that this is our multiplication function.
About
Very
the
good.
next
That's what.
one.
Enough. Now, have you computed this derivative? Yes, we had already computed something going to arcade to Rm cross Rn. Right? So we know how to compute the derivative. Have you computed the derivative of this multiplication function? Yes. That's the easy. So let us call this y. Let us call this xi. Therefore, my Fg at x is nothing other than xi composite phi at x. Do all of you agree with this? I don't know why this participant is playing such a pain today.
Meghna. Mahalakshmi.
Mahalashmi? Mahashri.
Marshi, yeah.
Mahashri already I asked.
Yes.
Ruchika? Right?
Yes.
So, according to us, how do I compute? Therefore, derivative of Fg at x acting on h. Now, do you understand why I said you should not be intimidated by the notation? This is the derivative of which function? This function. At which point? At this point. This linear map, where does it operate? It operates on h. So, to avoid this, many people will do like this, dfg. Now, how do I write x? I might write here. Okay. Anyway, this is by our thing d xi at what point? Phi of x. And then that should act on d phi of x. Then d phi of x, where does it operate? It operates on h. Do all of you understand this? Okay. Now what is phi? This is the map that we know. This is d xi of phi of x Okay, what is d phi of x? That is d of x acting on h and dgx acting on h. Do all of you understand? Quick. Don't feel intimidated by the notation. If your concepts are clear, it will be very easy. Yeah. Lower your hands, please. Yeah. Right? Okay. Now, this xi is a multiplication map. What is d xi at pi x? That is fx gx. Right? Notice that I am writing phi x gx. And that should operate on this. So how did the derivative operated? Multiplication map. Let me just recall. D xi at AB acting on HK was AK plus BH. Do you understand this? Therefore, this is the multiplication map derivative acting on these two vectors. Therefore, fx will operate on this. That is fx into dg of x acting on h. Yeah, plus gx into dfx acting on h. Okay, but what is dgx acting on h? That is nothing other than fx into the gradient of g at x dot product with h. Similarly, gx into gradient of fx dot product with h. So removed x, then what do I get? D of fg, which is d of xi composite phi, okay, at a point x. Okay, this is associated with what? F times gradient of g plus g times gradient of f. Without x, this is what it is. That is fx into gradient of gx. How many of you understand this? Please review these examples, because chain rule is a fantastic tool. Time and again, I have to teach a lot of people. In fact, I have to teach even some of the students whom I taught, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago. Okay. They don't appreciate. Yeah. You saw that? Okay. Let's look at another example. Okay. Suppose f is a function from u from Rn to R, right? And g is also a function. They are differentiable on u. Let me not worry about which point, etc. now. So what do I know about f plus g? It must be differentiable. What should be the gradient of this function? This must be gradient of f plus gradient of g. Okay. This is again trivial, from straight from the definition of derivative to follow, but you can also do it using chain rule. But let's not worry about that. Let's look at a third example, which is a little more interesting. Suppose f is a function from u in Rn to R, and assume f of x is not different from 0 for all x in u. Now, can somebody tell me what I want to ask? Nagraj? Yeah. I think I got it. Disha, I just want to confirm. Disha, did you hear him? Or you have your own answer?
I guess I didn't hear that.
Yeah, but what is your guess?
Del G by del F.
Huh?
To come.
No. What is that I have to compute? What is that I have to show? What is the question I want to ask?
Del of F by G.
What? What now?
Del of F by G. G by F. G by F. Sorry.
There is no G here.
1 by F.
See, this is what, people learn a lot, then they always think of this. So define a function g, which is 1 by f. Then I want to know whether g is differentiable, and if so, what is the derivative? Since these are all real valued function, I can ask how is the gradient of g related to the gradient of f? You understand this? Right. Now I want to think of g again as a composite of functions. Come on, all of you should be able to do it now. Pick. Only 2. Now, no wonder, that's why I see even some of the best students are still struggling to use chain rule. Somehow it doesn't seem to come naturally to you guys. Huh? When you want to think of molecules, you want to think of atoms, right? And when you want to think of groups, you want to think of simple groups. And if you think of finite abelian groups, you want to think of is a product of cyclic groups. But when you want to think of functions, you don't want to think of it composite of functions. It may not happen, it may happen. Yeah. Very strange. Only about 6 people? Is that right, Satya?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes. Around maximum 6.
Devonvita? She was the first one.
Yeah, of the first, it is from Rn to R to R. The first is F and the second is reciprocation.
Right. This is actually taking place in R star, therefore we can do that. Okay, but doesn't matter. So what do we have? S going to Fx. Okay, here call the coordinates as t. Then what is the function here? T going to 1 by t. So what is the composite? So call this as F, and there is composite is phi. Therefore G is phi composite F. How many of you understand this? Please, now at least you should say yes or no, quick. So now do you realize what I meant? Why I need to train you how to use chain rule? Believe me, if you don't learn it here, okay, it's arrogant to say you may not learn elsewhere. Okay, but just I'm saying being arrogant just to impress upon you why you want to learn. That's it. Okay, there are a lot of people who will be able to do it, but I just want to say that. Okay. Now, therefore, what is dg at any point x? Notice that again it's going to be a function from Rn to R. Therefore, I should look for a gradient. So let me ask its action on H. So that is going to be d phi's action at the point Fx acting on dfx acting on H. This is a chain rule. Do all of you understand? Okay. Right. Now, what is dfx acting on H? That we know. Okay. That is gradient of fx dot H. So I got this number. Do you understand? Now phi is what? T going to 1 by t. You follow that? Again, you have to understand what we did. Please pause. It's not, we are using some non-trivial result. What we did was, forget this. This is not the f I'm talking about. Okay. I have function f from R to R and it's a differentiable at A. Then we said d of A acting on H is f dash A times H. Do you remember that? Yes. The f dash A is when I take H equal to 1. Okay. Now remember my phi is a function from R to R. T going to 1 by t. Therefore, what is the derivative of d phi? Acting on any number, it is going to be a classical derivative of this function. What is the classical derivative of phi? It is minus 1 by t squared. At evaluated at which point? Fx. Therefore, minus 1 by fx squared times del fx dot H. Therefore, what is the gradient of G? Gradient of G is minus 1 by f squared into gradient of f. This is like your thing, right? 1 by f dash is minus 1 by f squared, f dash by f squared. Please go through. I will just pause, review. Okay. 20 seconds. Okay, how many of you understood? Of course, you should, as I said, you should sit down and review. The crucial thing, because this allows you to think very, unless your concepts are clear, you will get confused. D phi, fx, what does it mean? You just have to see derivative of phi. Phi is a function from R to R. Therefore, derivative of phi is phi dash a into whatever the point. But phi dash is evaluated at the point fx. Therefore, minus 1 by fx. Like that. Okay. Begin to think. Just don't like that copy or anything. Now somebody asked for this. So what will be my g by f? Because I am assuming f is again does not vanish. How will I compute the gradient of this fellow now? How many of you know the answer? Please write down on your notebook. I will call out somebody. Shashank? Shashank?
Yes, sir. Yes, hello, sir.
Yeah, please don't say yes, sir, hello, sir. Okay, I am
sir,
there.
This one we can consider as G into 1 by F, we can.
No, don't worry about such thing. I want the answer. I know that. Yes. G into 1 by F. You are right. Correct. Very good. Yeah. What is the answer? I asked you to write on your paper, pen and paper, then to do it, right? Maybe you don't have that. Anirban?
Yes, sir. It should be can I get a minute, please?
Lavanya?
So f into gradient of g minus.
No. Nanda?
Sir, f into gradient g
No.
minus
No.
g.
Amrinder?
Sir, minus f by g square. Gradient
Minus?
g minus f by g squared.
Minus f by g squared.
Yes, sir. Gradient of g plus 1 by g gradient.
Minus f by g squared. Yeah.
Gradient g.
Gradient?
G. Plus.
Huh.
Plus 1 by g.
Huh.
Gradient of f.
Yeah. 1 by g.
Yes.
Look
sir.
at that. You are recalling from memory. You are recalling f by g dash. What I wrote was g by f. Amrinder?
No, sir. I'm using the previous.
Therefore it is g into 1 by f, right?
Yes.
Therefore,
sir.
what is it? G into gradient of 1 by f, that is minus f squared, whereas you said g squared, delta f plus 1 by f into gradient of g.
Sir, I wrote.
So such a trivial thing, sorry, keep it. It's all right.
Sir, I wrote in my copy.
No, it's
that
okay,
F
please. It's all right. If I am wrong, please let me know. I did. Just because I wrote f, I just did g by f. You are recalling from your memory f by g formula and saying it. How many of you understand this? See, we had already done gradient of fg. What is that? F into gradient of g plus g into gradient of f, right? Okay. Now, what is this? G is there. My f is 1 by f. Therefore, 1 by f into gradient of g. That's clear. Next will be g into gradient of 1 by f. Just now I computed. How many of you understood?
15 raised to 17.
Now 22.
Yeah.
29. Good. 30. Do all of you agree? You have to review? And please believe me, if you review today's thing, you will be surprised. You will be able to help all your classmates, seniors, and sometimes your teachers too. Okay, let us do one more thing. It's already 11:30. Okay. Okay, let me give one more geometry example. With that, I will stop. In fact, I had a much more interesting example. I don't think I'll have time today for that. So now, do you see that you can prove the algebra of differential functions from U to Rn? That is sum of differential functions, multiplication, quotient, right? Composite is already done by chain rule. All right, very good. Now the next question I want to do that is the following. All right, suppose I have, let me call it gamma from some interval AB in R to U in Rn. So do you remember how I think of it? This is my U, this is my AB, okay, this is my gamma. Then I think of it as a curve, right? And we are going to assume it's differentiable. Okay. Now from here, I have function f to R from the open set U in R. This is of course open. So I have a composite. What is the composite? F composite gamma from AB to R. Okay. And we are assuming this is differentiable. Gamma is also differentiable. Okay. But I usually think of it as a curve. You will see the reason because I want to interpret it geometrically in a minute. Okay. Right. What is the question I want to ask? I want to know whether f gamma is differentiable. Remember, f gamma is a function from real number system to real number system. Therefore, I would like to know what is f gamma prime of t. Okay. But I want to use chain rule. Right. Remember, what is the relation between d f dash t and d of t? This is d of t acting on 1. Therefore, this is nothing other than d of f composite comma t acting on 1. Are you confident of the notation? You should not be intimidated. Right? Very good. So that's why I asked. People just like that go through, then they get confused. Okay, good. Now we know what to do that. What is this? This is df at the point gamma t and d gamma t acting on 1. But what is d gamma t acting on 1? All of you know that. In fact, in the last lecture, I reviewed it completely. Took about 25 minutes to review this. What is d gamma t? Viona?
Gamma dash t.
Yeah, gamma dash t. Right? Therefore, d of gamma t acting on gamma dash t. Does it make sense? Yes. Why? Gamma dash t. Df, f is function from something to Rn to R. Therefore, derivative will be a linear map from Rn to R. Gamma dash t, gamma of t lives in Rn. Therefore, gamma dash t lives in Rn. That's a vector in Rn. Therefore, the whole thing makes sense. But remember, f is a real valued function. Therefore, df acting on the vector is same as gradient of f at the point gamma t acting on dot product with gamma dash t. Do all of you agree with this? And this is what? This is nothing other than del f by del xi at the point gamma t into dxi. Okay, yeah. dxi by dt. Because gamma of t I am writing as x1 of t, xn of t, or gamma 1 of t, gamma n of t. But usually when we think of a curve, this is a natural thing to write. I equal to 1 to n. So you will see when you are going your differential geometry, differential topology or PDE, okay, your teacher will write f gamma prime t equal to, immediately you will write. If you ask him, you'll say it's a chain rule. Okay. But no further explanation will be given. It's your mistake not to learn chain rule. That's the implication. Do all of you understand this? Therefore, f composite gamma prime t is delta f gamma t into gamma prime t, but that is this one because this is gradient. Okay. Do all of you understand? I'll give you about 20 seconds. I'll take another extra 5 minutes and say what is the geometric meaning of this object. Those who understood, please raise hand. So we had already worked out over 4 cases. Okay. There is one more interesting case, but I do not know whether I want to do it tomorrow in the next lecture or something. By the way, next lecture is on Wednesday, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you just pause the recording for a while?
Yeah.
Suppose, let us look at the sphere Sn or Sn minus 1 in Rn. Set of all points x in Rn so that x dot x equal to 1. This is nothing other than set of points with distance 1 from the origin. Therefore, it is a sphere like a circle. In the case of 3 dimension, it will be a sphere. Okay, of radius 1 centered at origin. Okay, so this is what we have, right? Now suppose I have a function gamma which is ab to Rn, but then gamma always lies in Sn minus 1. Do all of you understand this? Right? So I have, this is an R3. Okay, I have a curve. This curve, it lies only here. Okay, not somewhere and then comes out like that. It only completely lies in the sphere. Can you imagine that? You think of a ball in front of you. I am sending a particle. The particle is going to move only on the ball. Even though it can, okay, in principle it is mapping into R3. But it is constrained to move only on the ball. Can you imagine that? Very good. Now suppose I have a function f which is defined on some open set U contained in Rn and containing the sphere. This is open. Okay, the whole thing is contained in something like sphere. This is a 3-dimensional open set which contains the sphere. And I have a function f from that set. Okay, if you want, think of f a function which is differentiable on all of Rn. Okay, you understood that? Right. Now let's look at what is f composite gamma t says. Okay, f composite gamma t as we did, there is nothing, right? You understand that? Okay. Right? Okay. Now my function f is f of x equal to x dot x. Okay. For any function f, I said, now I am restricting myself to x dot x. Therefore, what is f gamma t? What is this function? Please think about. I want at least 30 of you to understand and answer. Gamma t is a curve which lies completely on the sphere, and the function f from this is from Rn to R is x dot x. Therefore, what is F composite gamma t? Nothing can be simpler than this. Oh, it's a pity. Only 8. I wanted 30. You see that the data is available, you are unable to make their inference. Where does gamma t live? Priya, where does gamma t live?
In Sn is to n minus.
I'm unable to hear you.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
It lies on the unit sphere. When does a vector in Rn lies in the unit sphere? What is the necessary and sufficient condition for that?
Radius equals to
Just
1.
now look at this. I defined that. Therefore, what is F composite gamma of? What can you say about that function? Satya, how many had answered?
15, sir.
Still
No.
very bad. Do you see that? Even composite functions should be given exercise in BSc. They are not very adept. See, gamma t lives in Sn minus 1. When does a vector lies in Xn minus 1? If only if the dot product that itself is 1. That means gamma t dot gamma t must be 1. Right? But what is f of gamma t? F of x is x dot x. Therefore, f of gamma t is gamma dot t, gamma t dot gamma dot t. That, but gamma t lies in the sphere. Therefore, gamma t dot gamma dot t is 1. For which t? For all t. Therefore, what is this function? Constant function 1. So, I think all of you should learn to think. Okay, just because you got good grade, okay, top ranking student in the college doesn't mean. Okay, this is a trivial exercise. You understand that? That's why I said I expected 30 to answer. Other cases I said only 20. This is such a triviality. Huh? Therefore, what should be F composite gamma dash t? At least this you should be able to say now. Now that I would, okay, said everything under the sun. Yashita.
0, sir.
Okay. But what is F composite gamma dash t? This is del f by del xi at whatever point gamma t into xi prime t summation I equal to 1 to n. This we already saw. This is equal to 0. Right? Therefore, let's look at this. This is the gradient of f at gamma t dot gamma prime t. But what do I think of gamma prime t? That's a tangent vector. So I have a sphere. Okay. And there is a curve. And this is a tangent vector to this curve. Okay. Right? What does it say? What is the, now what is the function f? F of x is x dot x. Right? Therefore, what is delta f at x? 2 times x. We had already seen this. Okay. Therefore, what is gamma t? This is 2 times gamma t. Gamma t is the position vector. This is gamma t. This is the vector gamma t. This is gamma prime t. So what does it say? The tangent vector is always orthogonal to the position vector. Do you understand that? So if a vector is tangent to the sphere at a point, at that point it should be perpendicular to the position vector. Okay. I stop this. Take some time. Think about. You can discuss. Breakout rooms may be announced.